And we're back once again, only on the last call. Last call, the alcohol, only on the last call YouTube channel. Now, join me here on the line. This man will be in action once again. He's going to be, it is UFC on ESPN. It is none other than Thompson versus Holland. We're looking forward to seeing this action card. And well, this man will be on the main card against Eric Anders in the middleweight scrap. Well, we are always love to have him on the show for his insight, for his quips, and well, for educating us on what's going on in the world of mixed martial arts. I give you once again, all the way from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I give you it's Kyle Daukaus. So Kyle, start off here. It's you, Eric Anders, a guy who he's gone as big as light heavyweight, gone down to
Yep.
middleweight. Why this fight? What was the reason? I guess you and your team accepted it.
It was the only offer that I really got. After my last fight, I had to take a little bit of time off. I had surgery on my face after my last fight. So I had some time to take off, kind of reflect on everything, recover from the surgery as well. And this was kind of the first offer that they sent me. So I'm not somebody who's going to shy away from a challenge. I'm not somebody who's going to, deny a fight or anything like that. As long as I get like 8 to 10 weeks to prepare for my opponent, I'll sign the contract for against anybody. And they gave me about 14 weeks for this fight, so it was good. I had to recover a little bit from my surgery, and then jump right into camp from there.
So let's start off with surgery here. You said it's facial
Yep.
surgery. Like, so what happened here? I mean, I know that
So
you unfortunately took a pounding here, but how bad was it?
so my last fight, I got kneed in the face. That kind of ended the fight, and after I had an MRI and a couple of other scans and stuff, I saw that I had two facial fractures, and one fracture underneath my orbital bone, underneath my eyeball. So the doctors went in. I got one of the best doctors in Philadelphia, Jefferson Hospital, Doctor Heffelfinger. He worked on multiple athletes. He went in, put two plates in. I have a plate underneath my eye that actually molds to my bone and cartilage that's there. So it kind of just forms into one to kind of make it stronger, keep my eye lifted up. But I have a bigger one covering my cheek right now. That's staying in forever, obviously. But yeah, that was the circumstances of last fight, and had to take a little bit of time off because of it. But nothing too bad at recovery wise. Everything was good. My face was numb for maybe I'd say 6 to 8 weeks, and that was it. I saw the doctor at around the 10 week mark. He cleared me to get punched. That following week, I sparred and got punched, and everything was good, and we were good to go.
So the physical, rehab is always easy. It's the mental rehab here. So
Yeah.
you mentioned it as one of the, one of the real ones everybody gets nervous about, orbital bone, and you suffer a fracture, under the lower part of it here. How tough was that for you? Just taking the, when you get back in the ring, you're taking, you're getting punched, and all of a sudden you go, okay, no, my eye feels fine, my face feels fine, and yet mentally it's like, oh crap, is this going to happen again? Is this going to be, do I have to worry about, orbital damage? Do I have to worry about vision problems here? I mean, that's kind of scary here when people talk about orbital bones. Like the first thing you think of is, oh crap, I could be blind.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the vision is kind of my first concern with everything. I made sure that my vision was good above all. Like I'm fine if my face isn't all right, but as long as my vision is fine, then I'm fine with that. That's obviously a concern. So I did see a doctor, Dr. Billick, who was monitoring my eye as well. Everything's good with my eye. I have 20/20 vision. Everything's perfectly fine. But again, that was a very big concern. As far as going into the fight and being nervous about getting hit, if I'm nervous to get hit in training, then I'm not ready to fight, and I know that for a fact. But in training, I'm getting hit and everything's fine. I have no worries. I have no issues. It's as if the last fight had happened and we kind of just moved on from it. In my mind, surgery didn't happen and anything like that. Like mentally, I'm not looking at it as a crutch or anything like that. I'm looking at it as I just took some time off, got my body to recover and be healthy, and just be ready to go for the fight. But again, if I'm not comfortable getting hit in training, there's no way I would ever take a fight. But I am comfortable getting hit. I have no issues or anything like that with getting punched or any feelings or anything like that as far as like numbness or nerve damage or anything like that. Everything is good, and I'm ready to go.
So take me to this fight coming up here. First,
Yeah.
we'll get back to the Dole side in a bit, but first, take me to Anders here. What does he bring to the table? And when you've seen him fight, even if forget about videotape, just in general, when he's been on TV, he's a guy who's fought for a long time here in the UFC. So we've seen the highlights. Like, what makes him different from, let's say, the last three or four guys you faced?
I would say he's a lot more athletic. Obviously, he has a better athletic background than majority of the guys that I have faced. He was a Division I football player for Alabama. I think he was a linebacker. So linebackers are kind of the biggest, strongest, toughest guys on the field at the time. So I think that he has that as far as athleticism, but fighting wise, I think I have the advantage. Um, I don't really think anything too dangerous of him. I mean, obviously, with him being a bigger guy and a athlete, he's going to be explosive and strong. But that's only going to really last for maybe 1.5 rounds, if that. So I'm not really going into the fight trying to gas him out or anything like that. Obviously, I want to push the pace and make him work and stuff. But yeah, I kind of just see him as just a good athlete and not really too fighter smart, like not too intelligent in the fighter IQ and whatnot, but more of just like an explosive, very physically strong athlete.
I'm curious about that because a lot of guys talk about he's a premier excellent athlete, very explosive. Like how tough is that in the first couple of rounds trying to get that timing when you have a guy who you can prepare for a lot of stuff in the gym, footwork, kicks, submissions, wrestling, but everything's on time. And with a guy like Anders, who, as you said, very athletic,
Yeah.
high caliber NCAA athlete, high caliber big guy. He moves quicker than you expect. Like how tough is that getting that first feeling of like, all right, his jab, his kicks, and everything because he's just you know bigger and faster than most guys you face.
Yeah, I mean, I think that all comes with experience stepping into the cage and just being comfortable in the cage. Because if guys aren't comfortable in the cage, you're not going to be able to recognize somebody's speed and movements and rhythms and stuff and their explosiveness. You can watch a lot of tape and study your opponent as much as you want, but once you step foot in there, I think it's a lot different than seeing them on TV, obviously. And the same goes for him watching me. It's going to be a lot different when we do step into the cage together. But as far as his explosiveness and speed and stuff like that, I have guys at the gym that are Division I wrestlers, and I have guys that are kickboxing champions that I'm working with that are just as fast and just as explosive as he is. My brother is a UFC heavyweight who's quick, has really really quick hands, and he's very very physically strong. And I'm training with him every single day, so I know if I can handle him and handle the guys at the gym, that I really don't have a worry in the world for a guy that's my size, that all he has is a little bit of speed.
I'm glad you brought that up, because we'll go back to this fight in a bit, but taking back to the Dolezaj fight, and this all
Yeah.
ties into what we were talking about earlier. As you said, this is a guy you fought. You suffered the knockout.
Hmm.
He's also a big middleweight. When I mean big, I mean this is a guy who used to fight at heavyweight, but he dropped down
Yeah.
to light heavyweight, and this was his third fight. In the UFC as a middleweight, he fought twice before at light heavyweight. Looking back at that fight, like how much were you surprised that just for a guy his size, and for everything that you've seen of how quick and how powerful how he is, and how he was able to sort of explode with that knee, like literally
Yeah.
coming up, because most guys don't do that. Most big guys don't lift their knee that high to nail somebody.
Yeah, the knee that he threw was very, very surprising to me. He's never really thrown that any fight prior, and he's never really done anything from that position prior in his fights. Like from the body lock position from the back, he never really did anything too fancy or too intelligent from the back from that position. At the time, we weren't concerned about him throwing knees or anything like that. We figured he would have just held in the body lock and just did what he usually does and just holds the person and kind of just tries to win the round. But unfortunately, we were wrong, and he threw a very, very good explosive knee. I'm sure he was training it. I'm sure he's done that multiple times in practices. And obviously we've never seen it because he didn't throw it into the fight until he fought me. But yeah, it was obviously a big surprise to me. Um, Caught me off guard, obviously, and got me with a good shot and finished the fight. But my hat's off to him for going in there and getting the job done. And he looked great in his last fight too. He was very explosive in his last fight. He won by knockout in his last fight as well. So yeah, hats off to him.
How much does it bother you after the fight? I mean, you always hear, people who second guess you going, "Oh, why didn't you see this? Why didn't he do this?"
Mhm.
This guy is overrated. It's like politics, like, "Oh, why did you do this or this or this or this?" And it's like, as you said, this is something he threw out of nowhere. I mean, this is a guy who's built like a heavyweight, cut to middleweight, mostly wrestling, mostly striking. He's meat
Yeah.
potatoes. How do you not get upset or let it bother you when people second guess you on stuff? But even they would go, well, I didn't see that coming either, because as you said, all these guys have that one trick or one thing or that one little move that they're practicing, nobody sees, and all of a sudden, boom, it hits you.
Yeah, I mean, people's criticism, you're going to have criticism whether or not you win or lose in the fight. Um, but, you know, outside criticism for me doesn't really matter. The only criticism that I take uh, to heart is my coaches and my brother's criticism. That's about it. But as far as like, I can't control what other people are going to say. People are going to say you should have watched this, you should have done this, you should have done that. But they're not in there fighting. It's very easy for people to stand outside of the cage and stand in the seats and sit there and say what you did wrong. But once they actually step foot in the cage, it's completely different. But yeah, I mean, the only really criticism I care about is my coaches. My coaches were just as surprised as I was that the knee landed and that he threw that knee from there, because it wasn't something that we expected. But again, hats off to him. He got the job done, and I have to just move on, not really let it bother me. I told my coaches and my cornermen after the fight, I didn't really feel like I fought. I guess just because of how quick it had happened and everything that had happened. Um, I wasn't too upset about it. I was more concerned about my face and everything going on with my face than I was the actual loss. So I think that kind of helped me mentally just kind of move forward as well. Because obviously there were things I could have done in the fight to play it into my favor, but because it was so quickly in his favor and everything had happened so fast that um, it wasn't something that I would dwelled on or that I thought about like I could have done this, I could have done that, because prior fights that I've had, I've thought multiple times about things I could have done or couldn't have done or should have did, as opposed to doing one thing I could have did another. Um, Obviously, I would have kept my hand up and tried to defend that if I knew it was coming, but I didn't. And yeah, it just happens.
Do not get down on yourself, and because that's the easiest thing for anybody, whether they're going to do sports or business or
Yeah.
movies, music. It's you start second guessing yourself. You get this, they call it the yips. The next thing you know, it's affecting your striking, affecting your
Mm.
wrestling. You're picking up bad habits. You're going in there scared, not of your opponent, but of losing. And for a guy like yourself, how do you handle it? Especially when, as you said, you've had highs, you've had lows, you've had fights where the Dolzide where this came out of nowhere. You've had fights against Kevin Holland where you thought you won that fight. It gets ruled no contest, and there's always just something. How do you not let it mentally affect
It just comes with the job. Honestly, I know what I'm signing up for. I know that this sport is very unforgiving in ways, and that um, you take one wrong turn and the whole thing changes. As you know, I've experienced multiple times in my career, both in my favor and not in my favor. But yeah, I mean, it's just something that you have to deal with. You have to know that going into the fight, regardless of what happens afterwards, your family's going to be fine with everything that you do. You're going to have a support system of your coaches and your training partners that are going to support you regardless of if you win or lose or how you go out there and perform. I don't really get down on myself. I mean, I would be wrong in saying that I don't get down on myself. I do get down on myself a lot. If I'm having bad days at the gym, I know I'm having a bad day at the gym, and then I just deal with it. It comes with the territory, in my opinion. You're going to have good days, you're going to have bad days. It's just how you treat those bad days. Like if I go in there and have a bad day and get down on myself and be frustrated, I know that I can't force anything in the gym at the time, and that I need to just kind of go with the flow and just make sure that I'm getting my reps in, make sure that I'm getting my positions. If the submissions or my striking isn't up to par, then I know that there's things I need to work on every single day, which I try to work on every single day to be the best that I can be. And I know that at the end of the day, I have to look at myself in the mirror and be happy with the person that I am and happy with the fighter that I am. And as long as I can do that, then the good days and the bad days that I have, they're not going to really bother me at all. I do read a lot of books. I do have a lot of books on like mental health and stuff like that. I do write in like a notebook and stuff. I keep notes on things that I'm doing, like repetitions that I do, workouts that I do, how I feel during training, how I feel out of training, how my nutrition is and stuff like that. So as long as I know that I'm being serious with myself and then I can look myself in the mirror and be happy with the training that I have and be happy with the training that I'm doing, then I'll never second guess myself ever.
Recently, we saw this, and this is a different sport, but it's boxing. We saw uh, Dave Morrell Jr. take on a guy, Alido Yanis Busi. Went 12 rounds. He got beat up a lot, and he got put in medically induced coma. We've seen
Oh man.
in MMA, similar things where guys sometimes take a lot of punishment,
Yep.
and sometimes you get hurt. And I get it. It's part of MMA. It's part of the sport. It's part of just the way you guys are. You don't want to have anybody give up on you. You don't want to have anybody feel like, well, you're not going to win, so we're going to save you here. How does it work with you and your team? And for you, how tough is that? Telling somebody before the fight, look, I'm giving you permission that if you feel that I'm, getting hurt, you can stop this. I mean, because as you said, you don't want people to give up on you. But
Yeah.
how do you relate to it? Sometimes you corner somebody and say, hey, look, I might need a dog because I'm too tough. I'm gonna get take a lot of punishment. I trust your judgment. I trust you not to let me get hurt.
Well, I mean, I've been in fights that have been very back and forth and like war type of fights that like I get beat up, they get beat up, I get beat up, they get beat up the whole time. And I'm thankful. It's stupid to say, but I'm thankful my coaches never throw the towel in or never have any quit to put out there to stop the fight. I know that you're always in the fight. There's no ends ifs or buts about it. I mean, if you are out there completely getting destroyed and getting beat up the whole time, then it's different, I think. I don't know how I would react from cage side. I've never really cornered anybody that's ever really been taking a beating or anything like that. Like these boxing coaches, they tell their fighter in between rounds, listen, you got half a round, and then if I don't see anything, I'm stopping it. And I think that plays into a factor because there are so many rounds in boxing. There's like 12 rounds and stuff, and that there's only 3 to 5 rounds in MMA. Now, regardless, the rounds are longer in MMA. I think it still gives you time to kind of come back and fight. There are times that we've seen guys, like Calvin Kattar against Max Holloway, where he's been taking a beating the whole time, and the cornerman just never threw the towel in. I mean, I see people's arguments to throw the towel in, and I see the fighters' arguments to not throw the towel in. Obviously, if I'm fighting and I'm getting beat up like that, I don't want the fight to be stopped because I'm not going to quit, and that's quit. Honestly, like in my honest opinion, that's quit. When you throw the towel in or if you give up, obviously, but there are safety and precautions that you need to take as a corner man after the fact, like thinking how damaging is this going to be after my career is over. I mean, obviously, I'm somebody who doesn't want to be punch drunk or doesn't want to, not remember who my kids are or who my family is and stuff like that. But I have never been in the fight that I think that has caused an issue or going to be an issue in the long run. But my hat's off to the cornermen that grow the balls and actually stop the fights and take the blame and go out there and explain themselves to their cornermen, to their fighters. It's very tough to kind of do that and decide whether or not you're going to stop the fight or whatnot. But yeah, I don't think I could ever stop a fight, regardless of who was in there. If my brother was in there or whatnot, I don't think I could be the one to stop the fight. I'll obviously ask the fighter, like, listen, like, do you want to keep fighting? If you don't want to keep fighting, we'll stop it. But if you do want to continue, we'll continue. And if their response is I'll continue, then that's fine. We'll keep going. If they're taking a beating, we'll keep going. But if not, then I'll stop it. But yeah, it's very tough. It's very tough to decide, I think.
Yeah, because I was gonna say, I mean, you bring up your brother. you're single, so most single fighters like, okay, fine, well, we don't have to worry about this here. We'll be fine. We're Teflon. When you have fighters who have wives and kids, and are your in your case, it's your brother here. Does that change where it's like the parent, the sibling, the brother looks and goes, I don't want to get hurt. You're taking a beating. I know it's only 3 rounds, but this has been 10 rounds where we got the crap kicked out of you here. I don't want you to get a broken orbital bone. Your jaw broken 3 places. I don't want you to get double vision. I'm worried about you. I mean, how tough is it sometimes for you, knowing this? If the fighter goes, yep, we're gonna keep going. We can win this last second. Been done before, and yet, as you said, when you're cornering your brother and you are part cornerman, part brother, it's like I don't want my brother to get hurt. So
Yeah,
how
I
tough
mean,
is that for you, and does that help you, as a fighter, know when to go? Okay, yeah, I need somebody to look out for us, and yes, I might need somebody to go. I'm the adult. I know you're a fighter, but hey, somebody's gonna think here long term.
yeah, I mean, it it's tough because my brother and I have such, like, not to be like a tough guy or try to be a tough guy or anything, but I know what I'm signing up for, and then my brother knows exactly what he's signing up for too. So whatever comes with the circumstances, it comes. If we get knocked out, if my arm breaks or whatnot, then so be it. It's fighting. It's back and forth. It can go one way or it can go another. It's not that hard to determine where the fight's going to go. You know, um, but being a corner man, when my brother does fight, I'm more of a corner man, and I kind of take that brother aspect out of it, just based off of the fact that I can't let the emotions get the best of me. Um, whether or not he's doing good or whether or not he's doing bad, or if the fight is playing in his favor or not his favor, I can't. Um, I have to look at it from a corner man standpoint as opposed to a brother standpoint. I mean, obviously, yes, um, I care for him very much, and but I know that the work that we both put in, and I would be very upset to work my ass off for 8 to 10 weeks for my brother to or my coaches to stop the fight if the fight's not going my way. You know what I mean? Because I know that how hard we work, and I know how hard we train, and every single day is a grind, and it's just it's deteriorating mentally when you train that hard, and then I think you would go out there and then stop the fight halfway through the fight, regardless of if it's going in your favor or not. Like, if you're taking a beating, you're taking a beating. If not, then it's hats off to him. But I would never, I don't think I would ever throw the towel in or have my fighter stop.
It goes back down once again, as we said too. It's UFC on ESPN. Thompson versus Holland. Once again, you're fighting Eric Andrews, and
Mm.
we talked earlier about the athleticism. We talked about studying, getting, game planning, all that.
Yeah.
How much of this goes out the window just because it comes down to, as Eric Andrews has lost 2 straight fights in a row. He is for him. He's looking at this going, this might be my last time in the octagon. He's been in there for a while. He might either retire, might get cut.
Mm.
He knows the drill. This is a sport where, as you said, it's very unforgiving,
Yeah.
and he'll probably come out a bat out of hell. You know that here. How big is it in this fight for you to go? All right, I know what he is, but I'm going to throw a lot of it out the window because I know at the end of the day, he is going to come here just guns blazing, calling all out. I know this is basically a cornered animal who's fighting for basically his career.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, it's both of us fighting for our career because this is my last fight on my UFC contract. So I don't really I don't have a UFC contract. I don't have a fight done after this. After this fight, then I'm kind of a free agent until the UFC signs me again. So I'm taking that mentality. I mean, I'm not going to go in there and go balls to the wall and go crazy and just abandon my whole game plan. Um, but I'm going to go out there and push the pace. And knowing him, knowing the fighter that he is, I'm not really sure what kind of fighter is going to come out because he's looked so different in every single fight. He's hit or miss in a lot of his fights. Some fights he looks good, some fights he looks bad. But I'm preparing for the best Eric Anders that could possibly fight. This guy's fought main events against Lyoto Machida. He's fought against Thiago Santos. He's fought against a lot of UFC vets, and he's looked very well against them. And when I go out there and finish him, I'm going to look that much better, after I get my hand raised. But again, I can't put put too much respect on him. Like I respect him as a fighter and a person, but as soon as I step foot in there and the cage door closes, all respect is out the window, and I just have to go out there and get the job done, and I will.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, we are proud to have on the show. I give you once again the intellectual but badass fighter himself. I give you Kyle Daukaus. Kyle, before I let you go, so where can fans once again check you out at? Where is the Twitter page, Instagram, the website, and also who are the sponsors who've been helping you out for this fight coming up?
Yeah. So I'm on Twitter and Instagram. Both of my usernames are just Kyle Daukaus. You can go over there and just give me a follow. A few sponsors that I have are, the first one is Performance Meal Prep, who have really been helping me with get my nutrition down and get my weight down for this fight. They provide, not only bulk meals, but actually already made meals, different types of meals that you can order online. And also Fuel Hunt is another clothing line that my brother and I are branded with. We have a Blue Collar Brawlers brand with them. They have shirts, rash guards, and shorts. Not only us, but a lot of other fighters from Philadelphia are under them. Sean Brady's under them. Joe Pyfer, Andre Petrosky, I think, is there too. And a lot of UFC guys are jumping on the bandwagon now to kind of get under there and get their clothing line together with them. So go over there, check it out, grab some good stuff, and look good when you're training as well.
Kyle Daukaus, ladies and gentlemen, once again, always on our pleasure having on the show. We'll be fighting once again December 3rd, only on UFC on ESPN at the Amway Center in Orlando, Florida. Check our time and local listing for details. We come back. A lot more going on here, only on It Is Last Call. Last Call at the Alcohol, only on the Last Call YouTube channel.